This is Drumore on Luce Bay, Tope capital of Scotland, and base for Ian Burrett, who runs the charter boat Onyermarks. The intention today is to go out towards the scars and fish for Tope on the bottom in the conventional manner, but as the tide slackens and the feeding gets a little bit finicky, Ian would like to demonstrate another technique, a very exciting technique, that can produce a few extra bonus fish when the going gets tough. The scars are a collection of exposed rocks and small barren islands, slightly to the Port William side of the bay. Quite an exposed spot, but well worth fishing early summer, when this area of the bay fills up with Tope in the 25 to 50 pound bracket. The actual mark is around 8 miles from port, and a mile or so to the east of the scars themselves, with the fishing done over clean ground in around 70 feet of water. But first, a stop off for some bait is a must. Fresh mackerel for the hooks, and yesterday's leftovers for the rubby-dubby.
I like to fish a trace that's actually longer than the longest potential tope. So we tend to fish about 6 foot, 7 foot trace. And that's made up of a 6/0 hook, usually with a barb crushed, a short length of wire, I mean that happens to be 150, and then about 6 inches, 9 inches, and that's to protect the line from the teeth. And then a heavy mono, which actually is really meant for my hands, because if you're grabbing a lot of tope outside the boat on 80 pound mono, you can end up with a hand seriously sore and cut. So we use a heavy mono for my benefit. So that's ready to go. Have a go, sir.
Yep. Fine, right?
Here we go.
Yep.
And 6, 2, 3. Right, stop. So if it moves at all now, as soon as it moves. You got it? Round in. We have contact. Yeah, the fish are involved in the breeding cycle at the moment, which can make them a little lethargic with the take of the baits. We've found yesterday we had to do a lot of work in the baits. Once we got the initial bite, actually a bit of fast movement, either dropping back or winding back, encourages the fish to take it.
Rough bed's lovely, isn't it? No? You want a bit of sport, look at that.
Here she goes. The rod he's using was designed as a polyp rod, but as the years go by we just fish lighter and lighter for the tope, and it probably equates to about a 6 pound class boat rod, but it handles them. It's had a fish over 80 pound that rod.
When necessary, passing rods either over or under the rod in action makes it possible to keep all the baits in the water without too much risk of tangles while a fish is being played.
See, that's perfectly hooked to the scissors, and it's there just like to unclip that trace there. It is important that you bring the fish up level, because tope don't have a rib cage, and if they're dragged up backwards then it can actually rupture and the hemorrhage, and although they swim back very happily, they die a couple of days later. So just like that's with the tagging box there, just the bottom box there. Placing the towel over the heads and quieten them down. Cause a bit of a problem. That will sit there quite happily there now. Place that inside the fish there. It doesn't hurt it. And that's located. That's it. So it's number 4642. He's starting to come now. This allows the oxygen to go through the gills.
These are the sort of bites we were getting yesterday, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're just nailing it, short runs, dropping it. He's on there. The fish is on there.
Right, why not? A little bit of movement.
I think tope fishing with the right tackle, and that's light tackle, sort of 12 to 20 pound range, is just probably as good a fishing as you can get round the British Isles. It's fantastic sport, they're powerful fish. We're taking fish in the range of something between 20 and 40 pound, and as I say, on light gear, it's great fun, really is great sport, and that's what it's all about. I think a lot of people spoil the tope fishing by overfishing for them with heavy gear, and that takes the fun out of it really. Just basically all you're doing is dragging the fish in. But now, these thieves, they can beat you up on light tackle, and it's good.
With the tope bit of predatory fish, they're more liable to take a moving bait. So sometimes if you miss the bait, by a lot of rapid movement, you can actually force the fish to follow you in. Lovely hook, and the getting the bar and the hook, turning the fish, and you use the weight of the fish to pull the bait out. We have thing we started experimenting with is tope on the float. You get times at slack water when quite often the tope will go off. So if you suspend a bait about 6 foot off the bottom, it moves out on the last of the tide and provides a moving bait. And we've had a very quiet time last 10 minutes, so I've just put the float out and picked the fish up. Oh, you're very light, That's tope on the float. Not the biggest we've had today, but I enjoyed it. When fishing tope on the float, you start off with a bead, and that runs up to the stop knot, which is set to plumb depth, and we'll do that in a minute. A float, I like to use a large float because you can put a big lead on it, and it holds it nearer the bottom when the tide runs a little bit, stops it lifting right up in the tide. So that's the rig there, sliding float, that reaches the stop knot, and then just the conventional swivel and trace. So to plumb the depth and set the stop knot in the right place, we put a lead on the hook and drop it down to the bottom. When that hits the bottom, you want it so the float is about 4 foot under the surface. Then you tie the stop knot at that point. That means you're fishing between 4 and 6 foot off the bottom. So that's the rig, there's the float, feed on top, and there's the bait. I like to give it a little cast, just get it away from the boat, avoid the tangles. That lead will now go to the bottom. The bead will hit the knot, which will happen very, very shortly, and that sets the depth. Yeah, this is filling with another tope on the float. We had a bit of quiet time on the slack water, and this has picked up the last 2 fish to float, so it proves it does work. It has got its place. We also use it in areas where there's very little tide. It's that pollock rod here? Yeah, Onyermarks pollock rod.
Onyermarks, feels nice. A lot of lumps in the back. Taking a bit now.
Good? Yeah. Your rod's about to go.
The final tally for the day was 28 fish caught and released. but without Ian's float rig demonstration, that figure would have been 26.